with your rocks.
Go ahead.
Hi, this is Rachel, and I'm with Talking with Famous People. Today, I will be asking questions to Eric and Spacey regarding their typing services and typology. Uh, First question, Eric. What does self-growth mean?
Self-growth refers to a person's viewing the self in a normative light, which is to say that there's a better and worse manifestation of the self, a more or less optimal manifestation of the self. And so self-growth is the process of seeking and presumably attaining those more optimal states of self and jettisoning behind you the less optimal states. Spacey, do you have anything to add about self-growth?
I mean, it's a gradual process, but it's something that can definitely be kicked off or accelerated by learning certain things.
Okay. Rachel?
I agree. And I think that finding out your personality type actually really helps with that self-growth. All right, so next question. How does typology play a role in self-growth?
I don't think it goes anyplace.
Spacey?
Honestly, typology is something that first gives you a frame with which, to determine, what kind of a person you are and what an optimal version of yourself might look like. A lot of people get into typology when they're in a period of their life where they're desperately in need of self-growth, right? When they no longer have the attachments that they used to have, or they no longer have the things that they can depend on, or they don't feel like they know who they are anymore. And when they get a personality type for themselves, it can really help them realize what kind of a person they really are and give them some context for how their life has gone so far and how it can go in the future if they use this tool to improve themselves, rather than say justify their negative behaviors or some such thing.
I'd add additionally that cognitive functions provide a vocabulary by which people can understand how differences represent different configurations of person rather than failures to understand that your way is best. It's like that's sort of the default approach that everybody has prior to doing self-growth is I am how I am, and to the extent that other people are not like that, they're bad and they need to be more like me.
Yeah, it's definitely a really good tool for understanding other people, which can kind of help you understand yourself at the same time, even.
Rachel?
What are some options for someone looking into type and functions?
I think the point is, like right now, most people get into typology or learn about it at all probably do so by an internet test at like 16personalities.com. That seems to be the most common entry point that I've noticed.
Yeah. That's the first Google result, basically.
Yeah.
And then once they get into it, they sometimes seek out professionals to type them, and they've got not a huge number of such professionals to type them. Dave Superpowers, C.S. Joseph, us. I'm sure there's some other typing people out there, but not really that I'm familiar with on YouTube. So
I think INFP and J Coffee or whatever.
They type people. And, Megan LaVoda she just started, I think, a typing service, which I'm sure is fine. But the thing is, those are different ways you can do it. The other way you could go is like, you go to a Facebook group, for example, or a, what's it called, Discord server, that talks about cognitive functions and have people there type you based on what you write in the chat or something. You could have people type you in the TWFP raw rooms. Those are different ways that people get typed.
I think you could type by video subscription sometimes. I think that's what the Enneagram group does.
GSP does that. He gets video submission of somebody answering like a set of questions, and then they type them based on that. Okay, Rachel?
What approach do you take in typing someone?
I mean, I take an approach where I try to get a general picture of, how the person is and how they've been across time. And as I find certain things about someone that seem to stand out more than others, I tend to develop more, specific questions and try to find things that are, particularly revealing about their type and then work from there, maybe using some of Eric's strategies like TI testing and stuff that I find to be valuable.
What I try to do is build a case, basically. So I'm telling a story. You're this type. People will say, well, I deviate from type X because of correlate Y or whatever. And so that'll be noted. If there's enough of that stuff piles up, enough deviation, I start to go, okay, well, maybe you're not the type I thought you were. And you're going to start exploring other issues. We do have the skills tests, which are the most reliable things, really, that we have. The TI, SI, NE skills test, which at least can give you a pretty solid ballpark figure of front stack, back stack, or weak strong, some sort of vague approximation like that.
It's fun to see
because
because
skills are things you can't fake. So it's like a TI polar person. It doesn't matter if they were to learn our questions ahead of time, if they were to practice, if they were to there's enough variation in the question that they wouldn't possibly be able to fake it. And there's no pretending you can do TI when you can't. There's no pretending you can remember what your day was like yesterday on a linear step-by-step basis if you can't. When I ask Rachel what was that thing we said like 5 minutes ago, she had no idea. I don't either, but her seventh slot is even worse than my fourth slot. And so that's a skills thing. You can actually check it to see if somebody has that skill, and that makes it a lot more definitive. You can pin those things down, and then you can build your case around those. Spacey's probably a little bit more, I don't know, how would you say you're more value directed, or?
I don't know how to explain it. I guess I try to rely on the skills tests as little as possible because although I find them to be pretty valuable and like more accurate than I might have thought before I started working with Eric, it's hard for me to explain how like this one TI question is better than this other TI question for testing this particular thing, or how useful this particular kind of question really is for testing for this particular function. And if people were to ask me those questions, I really wouldn't have great answers for them. So
the best answers are SI answers, right? We've typed enough people, we know what TI DOM looks like. But the thing is, we actually could describe it. It's just it's a somewhat convoluted description. We'd have to really work hard to parse out a scale by which we could go, okay, exactly. But it's possible, and it would be pretty accurate,
Also, I generally just try to, observe, watch, listen to people, see what kind of emotions they're experiencing when they're answering certain kinds of questions. What really try to get a picture of how someone behaves and what they're thinking about and how they think, how long it takes them to think. There's all kinds of little factors that you can kind of pick up and process and throw in the mix while you question people and poke for like certain examples of behaviors that can be easily pinned to certain cognitive functions.
Okay, Rachel?
I like the way your questions are asked. It's like it's based off the cognitive functions. Like I find that 16 personalities.
Go ahead. Sorry, I just didn't want to go to sleep.
Oh, thank you. I find that 16 personalities. It's like it's not really based on the functions that much. It's like a little bit more general.
Well, yeah, there's understanding functions as processes, there's understanding functions as values, and then there's
Yeah.
understanding behaviors as functions, which is what the test does basically. It says
Mhm.
if you have this behavior or this self-concept, like, do you view yourself as creative? Well, you must be NE. As a matter of fact, NE people probably do view themselves as creative, but so do lots of other people because it's a positive adjective. People tend to attribute
Right.
positive adjectives to themselves
Mhm.
and not say, no, I don't have that positive adjective.
Yeah.
All right. Next question.
What makes your approach preferable to alternatives?
Well, it's first of all, we talk to the person, we ask them questions, and we're able to elicit further information when need be. So you can ask a question, you get an answer. It's not clear what that answer means. So what you need to do is figure out what process led to that answer. And
Right.
to do that requires sometimes some follow-up questions. If you're not engaged with somebody directly and actively like that, trying to find out what you need to find out in order to determine what type they are, then you're not doing it right. You can't really do it without asking them questions.
Mm.
There's got to be some kind of dialectic going on in order to figure out what your true type is. I don't see how you could arrive at it any other way.
I mean, if the alternative is something like C.S. Joseph, who typed me as an ESTP for reasons that are just absolutely insane. Like,
Yeah.
you
You
know,
don't have to think about it that hard.
right. The thing is, he got very confused about even what I was talking about. He mistook me relating a story for me actually advocating the thing. He said because if the channel was made out of cheese that it was extra physical and it was SE Dom. It's insane things, right? He's not asking me any questions. In fact, he avoids talking to me at all costs because he knows that embarrass him. But the point is, that's one alternative. And the thing is, no matter what you think of him and his channel or whatever, he's not going to type you successfully. If he's doing that sort of weak argumentation about public figures, just misunderstanding the metaphor, thinking, when I make a joke, the channel's made entirely out of cheese, he thinks I'm rendering it somehow in physical objects in my head, I guess, not understanding that it's a joke or a metaphor or something. It's very poor analysis. And that's the key thing. If you want to have good analysis, if you want to have a good typing, you need to have good analysis. Somebody's got to be able to analyze what's actually going on and be able to consider a possibility and then reject it. Like, I've many times been convinced that somebody's an ISFP until X spot in the thing and this thing reveals, oh no, I was wrong. I was building the wrong case. I'm not only capable of doing that, I do it all the time as a means of getting to the right answer. It's my approach is to not be attached to things I think or believe, but instead to be attached to the truth. Hey, Dad.
I'm back.
All right.
All the groceries.
Okay. Do you want?
She got out here okay?
I walked her out here. If you want, I can come help you with the groceries in a minute. Let me just finish this video real quick.
I'm not sure I am.
I said I will come help you with the groceries in a minute.
Okay.
Let me just finish this video real quick. So, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Stacey, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm the same way as Eric in that regard. We have more or less the same general process for actually trying to figure out how we can arrive at the truth. And we're both MPPs, so that's what you get with us, is probably the best kinds of types for doing this sort of thing.
Right. This activity, this field of study is an NETI wheelhouse kind of thing. You need to be detached from your ideation and ideationally vigorous at the same time. And really, that means the only people who are going to successfully execute this are NTPs or those who learn the system from NTPs and execute it.
Yeah.
Next question.
How have clients been impacted by the experience heretofore?
I mean, we've generally had really positive responses from people. You know, some people still question some of our methodologies and how we've arrived at their types, but they seem pretty happy to actually have been given a definitive type with a pretty good explanation for why they are that type. And some of them even, just send emails saying like, "Thank you so much. I think you're 100% right. I was totally wrong before, and now I really feel like I understand myself better, and that I can really go on and kind of use MBTI to help me understand other people effectively." Like sometimes people are really grateful, and it makes me happy.
Me too. And earlier, before Spacey joined me, I had a slew of people who had been typed by DSP and were quite discombobulated ontologically by their typing. There was a lady who was, I believe she ended up being an INFJ, I'm not sure, or something like that, but he typed her as an ESTJ, and she was experiencing distress of identity, for lack of a better term. It's like this caused her difficulties in life because she was trying to reconcile what she knew of herself with what she now believed to be her type, and she couldn't reconcile it, and it didn't make any sense to her, and it bothered her because she wants to understand herself, and she's paid somebody to help her understand herself, and then she sent that person a video, and he's told her from that video that she's an ESTJ, and he's given her a few wrong reasons, and she doesn't know what to do with herself. She's trying to watch these videos and understand the system is incredibly complex and pointlessly so because it doesn't help it be more accurate. Maybe she's watching C.S. Joseph being led astray, thinking, which of my four sides of the mind am I dealing with or whatever. There's a lot of misinformation out there. We try to be as objective as possible with the whole thing, treat it for what it is. Attentional manners, which are processes. And treat the expression of human attention for what it is. Action, knowledge, deliberation, interface. It's straightforward enough.
That's interesting. I agree.
Thanks,
And
Mom.
We try our best to actually make it affordable for normal people. I mean, I don't know how much he charges, but C.S. Joseph charges like $300, right?
Yeah, DSP charges like $100 for a 15-minute video submission that he and Shannon watch it and they each type it supposedly. Well, okay, fine, but the thing is, that's not a good way to
I'm not happy with their results are. I can say that. And I'm not just saying that to try to get more typing sessions. I mean, it seems like the people who get typed by them usually aren't happy.
Right. Well, they get the idea of DSP's community, I think, is to drag them into the fold of their particular typing system. See, this is the thing. C.S. Joseph's got this weird hybrid kind of whatever typing system. So does DSP.
Right.
People might think that of me as well. It's not really true. I've got a very traditional understanding of the cognitive functions and a very straightforward explanation for things. I add a couple of details that make it make sense better, but I'm not trying to mix and mash a bunch of nonsense together. Right? I'm not trying to recreate a wheel that doesn't need to be recreated either, because I'm an NE DOM. I don't overuse it in that capacity. So, next question.
Can clients have their typing sessions published?
Sure. If they want to, no problem.
Do they have to?
No. If they don't want to, no problem.
Are you guys getting rich off of this?
No. We are not getting rich off of this.
Absolutely not.
Right before this video.
I'm still poor. So
Right before this video, before we started this, but after I wrote those questions, we had a financial talk, and it's tricky, it's tough because here they are, they need housing and stuff, and there's only so much business trickling in. I can't give them money the channel doesn't make in general, so
Yeah.
we're definitely not getting rich off this at all. It's insufficient to support Spacey and Tori. And next question.
How does an interested party book a session?
They should email me or email me at stuartsire@gmail.com. It's in the description. Or call Spacey or email Spacey or whatever. We'll put his number and everything in the description as well. And tell us the time slot you want. We'll also put some slots up in the document, and I'll work on that some today to make sure that there's some available slots for people to choose from if they want. Okay. And Spacey's obviously losing his internet, so
Postcard from.
let's call it a video. I got to go help my dad with the groceries anyway. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.
Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese, even if it makes you into a censor.